Roads are snow-covered and slippery across eastern Iowa. Coming up, we'll have live updates from the Mobile Weather Lab, and we'll see how long this snow is going to last.
One person died and several more were injured when more than 70 vehicles piled up in central Iowa, and 2 other crashes in eastern Iowa have claimed 4 lives. And snow is not stopping many Republicans and Democrats from heading to their precinct caucuses tonight.
You're watching KCRG-TV9, now from your 24-hour news source. This is KCRG-TV9 News at 5.
Snow-covered roads have been causing quite a few crashes here in Iowa today. At least 6 people have now died in separate crashes. We'll have the latest on those coming up in just minutes. But first, we want to get the update on the snowstorm itself from meteorologist Joe Winters. And Joe, the snow's been piling up all afternoon. How are the roads right now?
Snow-covered and slippery in most areas across eastern Iowa. They're getting a little bit better farther back off to the west. And the visibilities are down as well for travelers as they have been through the afternoon. This is live right now from our Hiawatha City Cam. There's Interstate 380 north and south. Notice traffic moving pretty slow right now on southbound 380 near Hiawatha. Visibility reduced, and again, it is very slippery outside, certainly. Here's the snow that we see right now on pinpoint Doppler radar. It's moving off toward the east. Notice we do have a line if you stretch from Dubuque, now just off to the northeast of Cedar Rapids, maybe to Vinton, and back toward Des Moines. That's the back edge. Once this moves through, we will watch this precipitation come to an end. The heaviest snows have now moved just into extreme southeastern Iowa from Mount Pleasant over toward Galesburg, Illinois, in the Burlington area. There are pockets of some moderate snow near Iowa City right now, also in Jackson County, back toward Oskaloosa. But again, this activity is beginning to move out. We still will see some accumulations, but certainly on the lighter side from what we've seen today. There's your latest road condition report from the Iowa DOT. And basically, if you take Highway 20 in north, they're partly covered. Highway 20 in south right now, generally reported completely covered and slippery. That snow lasts for the next couple of hours, then moves out. Temperatures then drop well below 0 by morning as the sky clears. We'll take a look at some snowfall totals coming up.
Thank you, Joe. And right now, let's go live to TV9's Dave Franzman, who's out on the roads in the TV9 Mobile Weather Lab. And Dave, what are the conditions like where you are?
First, we're on Interstate 380 going south, and it's about a 40-mile-an-hour trip. Partially clear on some of the lanes, but a lot of snow back down, so prepare yourself for to kind of creep along compared to normal. Now, the best way to describe it might simply be a messy commute home. Messy because here in eastern Iowa, the snow started just before the noon hour, continued right up until many workers got ready to go home this afternoon. Now, Cedar Rapids street crews started pre-treating roads last Friday to help prevent ice from forming. Crews began applying salt, sand, and pushing the snow away this morning. Now, while this winter has brought plenty of bitterly cold weather, the snow really hasn't come in with the cold. In fact, one storm on December 29th, one storm accounted for 2/3 of all the snow so far in Cedar Rapids.
I'm counting the days till spring as well, so happy that we haven't had too much to deal with, but hope we don't get the rest of the average over the next month or so.
One of the drivers out today, state climatologist Harry Hilliker, tells me weather records in Iowa go back about 130 years. This year, so far at least, was ranked 19th at the bottom, at least in terms of snowfall. Now, even though we've seen half the average snowfall this year, city street crews are still using just about the same amount of salt and sand as you'd get in a normal snowier winter. Now, we explain why they're using so much tonight at 6. Live in Cedar Rapids, Dave Franzman, KCRG-TV9 News.
2 people died in a crash on I-380 in Cedar Rapids just as the snow was starting this morning. Police say a car went off the road and hit a bridge support just past the Highway 30 exit. That killed 2 people in the car. Another was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. So far, police have not released the names. Cedar Rapids police have responded to nearly 4 dozen crashes since the snow started this morning. Half of those have been on I-380. A 2-car crash in Winneshiek County killed 2 Decorah teenagers this morning. The State Patrol says 17-year-old Avery Arneson was driving south on County Road W40 when the vehicle crossed the center line. It then skidded sideways into the path of a pickup. A passenger, 13-year-old Aiden Arneson, also died. 3 other teenagers in Arneson's car were hurt, so was the driver of the pickup. And Interstate 35, really just a mess today. It's still closed near Ames after more than 70 vehicles piled up, one right after the other on the road this morning. This was around 11 this all started. We do know one person did die. At least 5 other people have critical injuries. The State Patrol says many cars just skidded into the backs of other vehicles as they just couldn't stop on the slick road surface. The weather isn't stopping Republicans and Democrats from holding their precinct caucuses tonight. KCRG-TV9's Phil Reed joins us live from Cedar Rapids. And Phil, you've talked to people in both parties. With this weather, why aren't they rescheduling the caucuses?
Well, today's the day that the state set for both parties to hold their caucuses. So it would be pretty hard for all precincts to get on board with having them on a different date. And while non-presidential caucuses normally have low turnout, some were hoping this year would be different.
Actually, we were expecting a record turnout on these off-year caucuses.
Chairman of the Linn County Democrats, Brett Nilles, was hoping thousands of people would show up tonight, saying more people are showing an interest in getting involved.
People aren't happy with how the legislature performed last year, and then with the election of Trump as president and what the Republican-led Senate and House are doing. People are not happy with that, and they're looking for some changes.
And on the Republican side, Chairman of the Linn County GOP, Justin Watson, also predicts a low turnout, but he says it's more than just the weather.
There's definitely a tendency for apathy when you're the party in control. But I see a lot of energy too. I mean, we're seeing a lot of potential candidates step up.
And for those who can fight Mother Nature to get to the caucus, Watson says their voices will be heard.
Because when there's lower turnout, each vote counts that much more. And so, I mean, even though it might be lower turnout, if you can make it, I mean, tonight's the night where your voice is going to count the most.
And Nilles says there are still ways to help out if you can't make it tonight.
So organizing our convention in March. We'll also be working for planning and getting voters out for the June primary.
The caucuses start at 7 with registration beginning in about an hour. Now tonight at 6, I'll tell you some of the issues both parties plan to bring up tonight. Live in downtown Cedar Rapids, Phil Reed, KCRG-TV9 News.
And you could still see the snow falling on Phil there. You can get up to the minute weather updates in the palm of your hand at any time. Just download the First Alert Weather app. It's available for both iPhone and Android devices. The only things falling harder than the snow here in eastern Iowa today were the stock prices on Wall Street. The Dow Industrials plunged 1,175 points, the biggest point drop ever. And combined with Friday's huge loss, the Dow has plummeted 1,840 points in 2 days. Investors are worrying that higher inflation and rising interest rates could derail the long-running rally on Wall Street. But it could have been worse because at one point the Dow was down as much as 1,600 points. The Nasdaq dropped 273 today, while the S&P 500 fell 113 points. Some Eagles fans partied a little too hard after last night's Super Bowl win. Investigators now say human error probably led to a fatal train crash over the weekend. Those are still ahead, still here on your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV9.